Hello, and thank you for watching this video about God Eater 2 Rage Burst. Here, I'm going to give a short primer on how bullets work. In most games, the guns might be complicated, but the bullets usually go out and kill things once you fire the gun. In this game, it's not quite that simple. There are 4 kinds of guns, but most of the bullets that I'm going to talk about are for the blast gun. And this is because the blast gun has the most room for creativity and has the most steps in general. What are steps? Well, I'll show you a one-step gun. I chose the size of the bullet, which is double large, the biggest there is, and there's a lot of options here, but for now I'll go with the one that's easiest to hit with. Homing, both vertically and horizontally. There you go, a big bullet that tracks. Now, the gauges up top are my ammo, and you may have seen that the top bar was depleted after 2 shots. That's not a whole lot to work with, but the fights in this game could go on for a while. So I'd like to get a bit more damage for my ammo, because that's what those bars represent. Also, there's a second problem, which is, and you may be familiar with this when you're a veteran of monster games, you may be aiming for a particular part, and, well, when a shot is homing, you lose some control over where the bullet goes. So, let's experiment a little with the shots available. Now, the options for your shots differ depending on their size. This one travels fast and goes right where I want it. The problem is the damage isn't that great, and blast guns don't fire very quickly. So, what I'll do is create a 2-step bullet, where I attach the large one to the smaller one, and have it trigger when the first step hits. So, let's try that out. There we go. And you may notice that it costs less. That's because I used the cheaper option for the larger shot. If I fired that on its own, it says gravity based, which means it would sorta fall to the ground the moment I fired it. But let's experiment a little bit with the smaller bullets. For example, the large shot costs, around a 1/5 as much as the homing shot, and it definitely doesn't deal a 1/5 of the damage. So that looks a lot more efficient. And while we're at it, why stop at 1? Let's just attach as many as the gun allows. Oh, you can attach any element bullet to be used by any gun, and well, okay, that was a bit less than what I was hoping for, considering I had 7 bullets and it's definitely not 7 times the damage. Some of them deal like 9 or 3 damage even. This is because the game drastically scales down damage when several bullets hit at the exact same time. So if we want more damage from all of those bullets that we've attached to the program, we'll need to be a little more creative. So we'll have to remove some of these, and, well, what I was saying with the elements was, some guns do give certain element bullets extra power, so it isn't completely mindless. However, since you can store 15 types of bullets in a mission, you have some pretty good versatility if you have to fight more than one monster. So, the tool we're going to work with to spread our shots out a little bit is the orb, which is only available at medium size. If you ever decide to play the game, it would definitely help to take a look at the options available at all sizes, though I think the ones at medium are the most interesting. So we have this orb that is going to cling to the enemy when it hits, and from there, I can use a couple more of the if-then settings for the bullets. So the limit is 2, therefore I can have both of these go off before the sharp scaling starts to kick in. After that, well, we're not done yet. We can set this to point blank, which is the cheapest option, since the shots will spawn right on top of the monster. And here we have a time limit. 0.2 seconds after 3. And we can attach 2 there as well. Whew. Actually, the with 3 could cause problems. But anyway, the reason that the 0.2 or 0.5 seconds or whatever is mostly used with orbs is because with more standard bullets, they sort of spawn from whatever is on the field. And with a normal shot, it might have hit something already, or it might not go in the right direction. Now, I ran into a problem here. Not all of the bullets spawned. And the reason is because the with 4 or with 6 is pretty unreliable. Whereas when something hits an enemy or just anything in general, that tends to work a lot better. There we go. There's still some damage scaling when you get several hits from the same bullet, but it's still much better than my first attempt. And if you paid attention to the ammo consumption, you'll see that this is a lot more efficient than just the single huge bullet. And that's really the big advantage of this gun in particular, but also bullet programming in general. Let's experiment a bit more, though. These are decorative shots. They don't hit anything. However, players like to use them for celebration shots when they're playing online. You can do some pretty creative things with paths like Curve or Orbit, and there's some light shows online. There are other uses, but I'll talk about those later. Now, there is a purpose for the more inefficient bullets, and I'm going to talk about that, well, right now. This is a bomb bullet. It only works properly when it's attached to another bullet. The damage is, well, it's not efficient, but it's a big number at least. And it has the no connection indicator, which means that nothing can be attached and occur after the bomb, which makes it a pretty limiting shot type. Now, to make better use of this, I'm going to start making use of chips. You don't get access to them right at the start, but you'll start opening them up not too far into the game. Also, hello friends on Steam. So, let's try some chips. Charge is a chip that makes a shot more powerful the longer it's on the field. We're going to use that in the same shot as an orb, which sticks to the enemy for a very long time. And that weakness mitigation chip removes the natural damage scaling when multiple hits are put into the same bullet. Now, chips are specific to the type of gun. Let's try this out. While we're waiting, let's talk about damage types. It says crushing and piercing on the right, and melee damage is also crushing, piercing, and slashing. These are all separate damage types. Crushing bullets are different from crushing melee, and monster parts might be vulnerable to one but not the other, which is why it's important to bring a variety of bullets to break more different kinds of parts. Ooh, there we go. Now that's a worthwhile use of ammo. That will definitely break a part that's vulnerable to crushing bullets. Just don't miss. You start with a full bar of ammo, and anything melee will restore ammo. One of the main features of the Blaze gun is the reserve ammo bar that you saw below the main one. You can store excess ammo and use it to save up for the really big shots. And thus you can use shenanigans like what I just showed you. Now I think that covers sort of the basics of how shots work, but let's use an example for a different kind of goal. Let's say I'm facing a monster that's kind of flat but has a part on the back that I want to break that's kind of tough to reach with melee. This is where the deco shots can come in handy. And here's another feature. You can adjust the angle of shots relative to where you're aiming. So you see, even though I'm aiming straight forward, this one goes upward at an angle. And here's another function of medium shots, control. Control allows you to adjust where the shot goes, and the most straightforward one is aiming at something. Now, what are we going to attach to that? Well, we're not aiming for anything huge here. I'm gonna say maybe this is weak against piercing shots, and those huge bombs are crushing. So I want to make some piercing shots to attach to this, and we're going to space them out a little bit to prevent some of that damage scaling. And if you've been paying attention, you probably noticed a downfall of copy-pasting all the bully types. Bullet types. I'm not a bully, I promise. So, these are all point blank, so they won't go very far from the control shot. So let's turn him back to short, which is only a slight bit more expensive. Much better. Except, well, actually no except. This worked just fine. The only thing is, it aims at a foe rather than being full homing, so if a monster moves between the little airborne turret thing firing and when the bullets reach it, the shots will miss. So you gotta still have some timing with it, even with the auto aim. Now, the other thing is that the control shot actually has a visual effect, which I want to just show everyone. So I'm going to lower the angle and have it go not as far, so there it is. And I believe that's all I have to say about bullets for now, at least for how bullet programs work. I hope that was a decent explanation. Now let's talk about the other kinds of guns. This is an assault gun. It's meant to fire lots, and one of the mechanics that helps it do so is it has a rapid shot specific to that gun. It actually restores some ammo when it hits, so if you're willing, you could have a gun that you can fire as much as you want, as long as you don't miss. Or just one that you can keep firing for longer than usual if you don't mind getting into melee. But I find it very useful against enemies that are tough to melee, or for shooting spots that take a beating but are tough to reach with melee, that sort of thing. Very handy for flying enemies. There's also the sniper rifle, and its special sniper shots are hit scan, which is very nice for certain situations. And I've been told that sniper rifles later get some modifications that are ridiculously powerful. Who knew? Now, shotguns, well, you've encountered video game shotguns before, you can probably guess how they work, but just in case, I will explain. Shotguns have a special round called buckshot, which does more damage the closer the shot is to the muzzle of your gun. So the general idea is to get in close, fire a bunch of shots to empty your ammo and deal a pretty good chunk of damage, then go restore your ammo and then do it again later. There's also a special mod that lets it mostly ignore part defense. You can think of it as kind of similar to fixed damage in Monster Hunter games, so it's very good for breaking parts that resist just about anything. And I believe that's pretty much all there is to know for shotguns. So, I believe that covers, just about everything. We've got the blast guns, the snipers, the assaults, and the shotguns, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. See you later.